Hi, I'm Mama G, and today I want to teach you how to actually make friends. Not so much how to influence them, but how to make friends that feel like soul family. You can make best friends in your 30s, in your 40s, in your late 20s. It's never too late to meet people that can change the trajectory of your entire life. So keep watching. I think you're going to be really surprised at how simple these tips are. All the closest friends that I've ever made in my life are people that I met after I turned 19 years old. I'm really glad because I've changed so much and developed so much because of these friendships, and had I stayed and remained in connection with the people that I've known in high school or beyond that, I probably wouldn't have changed in the major ways that I have now. Let me tell you, I used to befriend anybody that was willing to actually talk to me. It was slim pickings. Anybody that I was around, I just ended up falling into friendship with it because I had such low self-worth. Don't think I even had a personality. And when you're growing up, you become so susceptible and influenced by the people around you that you end up developing all of their characteristics and traits and adopting their mindset. For me, I'm kind of terrified of the people that my children will be around because of how easily influenced we end up being, how impressionable we are to other people's personalities and ways of being. So elementary, high school, I definitely felt like the odd one out. I didn't really feel like I connected so heavily with people I was around. It was just a matter of time and proximity. We just ended up being friends because of shared experiences being in school. My best friends are people that I've met in the last several years of my life. My one best friend, Marina, I met her at 19. And then Mar, my late best friend here, I met her like a few months ago. And then Max, I met him last year. And it's so beautiful because these people signify to me different aspects of my life and who I've become and things about myself that I really honor and want to treasure, and I see that through them. The first part, I made a friend group when I was 19 years old that changed everything for me. I met them through partying. When I turned 19, I just was able to go out for the first time, so I took advantage of that and ended up going to these raves and making a rave fam and meeting somebody who introduced me to somebody else. That's a story for another time. One of these girls ended up being Marina, who's now one of my fucking best friends, and that group of women taught me how to be so embodied and so sensual and feminine without needing to use sex as a main driving point. And I really allowed myself to be in this space of exploration and openness and adventure from the times I shared with them. A couple of these girls were Jehovah's Witnesses at one point in their life. They left that cult and ended up going the opposite direction of full liberation, of expression, of being such beautiful, beautiful examples and role models to me of how to be so embodied and self-expressive without feeling constrained by other people's opinions and judgments and thoughts. They taught me so much, so much. And for a year, that group, we called ourselves the Lesbian Rainforest. We partied, we danced, we commanded the room every time we entered a scene, and it was so much fun just being with them that it transformed my perception of friendship as a whole. Everybody that I was friends with before that point, we just talked shit about other people. Like, the way that we connected was talking about other people. And one of these people in particular, I ended up just cutting out of my life because I realized how toxic it was to be around that all the time. Now, with this whole piece of emotional intelligence, the quality of your friends is a reflection of who you are. If you are in a constant mode of self-loathing and negative thoughts, there's a chance that you're picking that up from other people, or you're perpetuating it through your connection with other people. Because your real homies would call you out on your shit. They wouldn't let you be in this mode of self-loathing and overthinking. They would encourage you to step away from that mindset or help you find other avenues of personal growth and development that don't perpetuate that. If anything, you should be around people that really inspire you, not in a jealous way, but in a way that makes you want to be better than you've been before. And this is why people are so subjected to higher net worths, high rates of self-confidence, and this desire to grow and persevere through their circumstances when they see other people that are privy to doing that for themselves. So often you find people who are in this victim mindset, and typically their friend group is in that same headspace of wanting to play the victim. Now, your real friends would pull you out of it, your enemies would conspire to keep you there. You must become the friend that you want to befriend. For me, it's a non-negotiable within my friend groups to include everybody. It physically pains me when I'm talking to people and a homie of mine enters a space and isn't included immediately. I'm like, pull them up a chair, get them in the space, I want them included, let me fill you in on the story, let me give you the context, because it physically pains me to feel like the people that I love are not included, because I wouldn't want that. I would expect my friends to do the same for me, to include me into what's going on in the situation, as opposed to letting me feel like a fly on the wall. Not in a cool way. We really don't care anymore. I don't want to speak for the entire population of humanity, but a large majority of people would rather talk about themselves than to actually learn about themselves through other people. And that might sound narcissistic or but I think it's actually really brilliant because we're all one and the same reflection of each other. And if you have the capacity to be able to see yourself through someone's eyes, and you have the jurisdiction to gain more curiosity about how someone else lives and perceives the world. I love asking questions, especially psychological ones, because I'm deeply curious about how other people have lived their life and what they've gone through. There's hundreds of millions of people out there who've had very similar experiences that I've had in my own trauma, and yet have figured out ways to do it differently, ways that I could learn from. And so I think it's really important for us to be able to harness our own curiosity to develop ourselves. And when you have somebody ask you a genuine question as opposed to, "Ooh, that was cool," they end up feeling so seen and felt and loved. And that's a really good feeling to give to somebody else. I love questions. I think it's something that we should all learn to do. I always assumed conflict was the end of every relationship and connection I've ever had. I've had every relationship prior to turning 19 end because we would face a conflict with no resolution. And it wasn't until I made friends with Marina, one of my best friends in the world, that I realized that you can argue with someone and repair it afterwards. And that changed everything for me. Now I actually love conflict because it gives you the opportunity to deepen into intimacy, into more connection, into, wow, we misunderstood this one thing about each other. How can we repair it to strengthen our relationship? And I've had this happen numerous times where I would find myself in disagreement with someone where we did something that we didn't really fully align on, and then we end up expressing how we feel in a very conscious, clear way, as opposed to saying, "You made me feel this." It's more so, "Wow, when that happened, I felt this," using the nonviolent communication method of I statements. And then you just get closer and you realize that, wow, we can face any type of conflict and get closer after it. Highly recommend. I actually love conflict now. The best relationships I actually have in my life are the ones that feel super effortless, where you connect and reach a common ground without needing to feel like you're pulling teeth. And they come far and few in between, actually. I realize that it's a vibrational thing, a frequency thing. And with that, I think it's important to meet as many people as possible, give them the chance and opportunity to see other sides of you in order to reach that level of connection. And I also think this is why it's so important to be so authentically yourself, because if you're putting on this face of being somebody else, then you're not going to resonate with the people that are actually able to see and feel you in the ways that you actually are, actually. So when you're as authentic as humanly possible, you can resonate with people who see you and want to meet you there. So I think it's really important to just be yourself. And with that being said, you don't have to tolerate everybody in your life. If you're in the scarcity mindset that you won't meet anybody that actually feels you and understands you in the same way that you are, then there's a likelihood that you won't actually end up meeting those people that really connect with you and are soul family. If you are in this mindset that you're not going to find them, then you're going to spend so much time investing in relationships where you don't feel that level of reciprocity, which takes up so much more of your space and energy that you could be dedicating to yourself and developing yourself and meeting other people that really do see you. Now, you don't have to tolerate every single person in your life. You can be cutthroat about who you let in your life. Discernment is a very, very big component of how I live my life now as a 20-year-old woman. But I also believe that we all deserve grace and compassion. Just because one person did something that you felt was icky or gross or not in alignment with your own values doesn't mean that you have the right to just completely cut them off. Because when we live in this mindset of judgment, no grace, lack of compassion, and fear of other people, we end up bearing those same insecurities within ourselves because we're the ones that do it to other people. The world is a reflection of you. Your perception of me is a reflection of you. If I'm ever in a headspace of self-criticism or judging the way that I am in certain spaces, it's because I haven't given the people around me the same level of grace. And one big thing that irks me is people who aren't able to be attuned to a space where I can tell if somebody needs silence or needs space or doesn't want to talk. And when I'm around people that don't have that same level of discernment, it's because I very much have lived in this space of needing to be really, really mindful of other people's body language and what the room calls for in terms of energy. My own trauma. My bad. That's my trauma. If I'm thinking this, they must be thinking too. Okay, next up we have time does not dictate a friendship. When you have so much room in your life occupied by people that you don't really feel enlivened by, and the biggest rule is, do you feel recharged or exhausted after you hang out with them? If you don't have the space for that, how is anybody else meant to come into your life if you have no room for them? No, I was talking about the story earlier about how I had a friend in high school that I cut off even though we had the most amazing time. She made me laugh constantly. but she was really negative, and every single time we spoke, it was about other people, just talking poo kaka. And one time, the final time, we were walking through the mall, and a woman was walking past us that I hadn't even really perceived, and immediately she starts snickering, pointing at her and going, oh my god, look at her, she looks like a Pokemon, Diglett. And immediately I was like, what? And I laughed because I was uncomfortable, because I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable with my silence. But it was in that moment that I realized I couldn't be friends with her anymore, that I don't want to judge people in the same way, that if I spend any more time with her, then that kind of mentality will infiltrate my thoughts in the way that I perceive the world, and eventually myself. So I slowly cut her off, and I still consider her a good person. I have no shame. I have grace and compassion for her. I just know how privy I am to that kind of level of influence. So it's important for me to be so discerning and protective of my energy and my mental space. Nowadays, I would call her out. I don't think I would allow anybody in my life that first is that kind of level of negative, but also if it was a really close friend of mine, I would lovingly and gracefully bring upon a reflection of, hey, this is something I'm noticing. If you're open for a reflection, is there room for repair? I find that I can't be around that A, B, C, D. You know, it's important to vocalize your needs. It's important. But we're on good terms now. We're just completely different people. We don't hang. I don't hang with anybody, actually, from high school. Sorry, not sorry. Where do you meet these people? There's a reason why you make such close homies in high school or when you're at work. It's proximity and a shared traumatic experience. I don't know if this is actually a scientific journal. I'm sure there are, about how collective trauma bonds you. If you look at any of the cases of people trapped in caves and people going through famine and war, they are able to laugh together because of this shared collective trauma. And the same applies when you have a really shitty teacher or a boss. You end up connecting and laughing with your coworkers and your peers because of this shared experience of something that you did not like. And you can laugh about it, create jokes about it, and have this camaraderie through this experience. But when you're out of school, when you don't work a conventional job, or you haven't connected with anybody at work, where do you make these friends? I say it's important to do shit that you really enjoy. Join a workshop, a class, a book club, start one. I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to make these kinds of friends. Even still, I've heard of people getting jobs that they don't need solely for the purpose of making friends. And I've worked in my fair share of part-time jobs, bartending, and in the service industry, and I've made really good friends through that method. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's your life. Do whatever the fuck you want with it. I also think that the rise of dating apps is because of the lack of shared spaces. And if we spend so much time alone, obviously we're not going to meet people that end up being life-changing friends to us. So I say take more chances, spend more time outside, do things that really excite you, pick up new hobbies, share them, find other clubs and groups online. There is always a way to connect with other people, but it won't happen if we're stuck inside all the time. Travel has been the biggest way for me to meet incredible people, because who else in their life would leave their home country to explore the world? People that I definitely resonate with. There's also communities that you can land into if that's something that feels way more comfortable for you, doing workaways. You just end up meeting people and sharing spaces in this way that you don't even need to talk, but you end up bonding with them. Finally, I think it's really, really important to give yourself grace through this process. It can be as easy or complicated as you make it, but I genuinely believe that there are so many people who will understand and witness you in the ways that you deserve to be seen. And you really have no idea how the next person you meet could impact your life in the most monumental way. Someone you haven't even met yet. Somebody that you know, maybe somebody that you met 10 years ago. Now you both have changed for the better and can become such close friends now. You have the capacity to connect deeper than you ever have before. And this whole idea of honoring and loving being alone, yes, is important, but I think that we're biologically wired for community and connection, and that it's so important that we always continue to strive towards that. And one of my favorite ways to connect as somebody that's 50% extroverted and 50% introverted is just sharing silence with the people I love. I love co-working where we don't have to talk and I'm doing my own thing. But there's somebody out there who will be able to meet you exactly where you're at. Okay, that's that on that. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this resonates and makes sense for you. I have a Substack if you want to go and subscribe and read more of the musings of my life and the more intricate, intimate stories. I post weekly now. I really love doing these video essays, so if you're really interested or intrigued or would like me to talk about specific topics, write it down in the comments below. Subscribe, like, it lets me know that I'm doing the right thing by you, but I also really love this process. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next week.